Hi everyone, Wendy Copeland here. I am a therapist in Austin, Texas, specializing in trauma work. I wanted to share a little bit about how I would work with you if you were a client who needs help with resolving trauma in your past history and wanting to move forward in a healthy and productive way. So, I work from a model called TFCBT, Trauma Focused Cognitive Behavioral Therapy. This is different from EMDR. This is a method of where you would end up writing a trauma narrative and we would go through and do exposures in that way. I like to think of it as like walking slowly into the pool and making sure you feel safe at each step before we go to the deep end versus my interpretation and my experience going through the EMDR training was that it felt a little flooding. It felt like it would be kind of going in the deep end. So if you like a little bit of a slower model and a paced model, then this would be the model for you. So TFCBT works from an acronym of practice. I'm going to walk you through exactly the map of where I would take you if you were coming in to resolve some trauma history in your past. P, psychoeducation. So this is where we would discuss common reactions to trauma, go through some normalization of what's normal, what's not, what are the symptoms that are really bothering you, making sure that you understand that, time and effort are a big part of healing, and you can put in all the time in the world, or all the time in the world can go by, but thank goodness that you're here doing this effort work so that you can heal. And so also distinguishing between trauma and drama in your life. And then after we identify what the traumatic event is, then we would go in and work through RAC, which is relaxation, affect regulation, and cognitive coping. So relaxation is our physical ability to regulate when we're dysregulated. So we would work on some coping skills, some breathing exercises, meditations, and ways to relax in a way that's not destructive or unhealthy, such as drugs or overuse of alcohol and things like that. Affect regulation is going to be all the feelings. So can you regulate your mood? Can you identify your mood or the symptoms that you're having, the feelings that you're having, and can we either use the relaxation or the cognitive coping in order to regulate our affect or our mood? And can you express your anger or anxiety or jealousy or whatever the negative feeling is in a healthy way? So we're allowed to feel angry. We're not allowed to punch people in the face. We're allowed to feel jealous. We shouldn't be stalking our ex. We can feel anxious as a parent, but we shouldn't helicopter too much over our kids. So really kind of working with how can we healthily express our emotions. Cognitive coping, so that's where we bring in our thinking, our brain, and we reframe what has happened, hopefully in a more healthy way, make some meaning from it. I like to create an old truth and new truth list and really help you work through some of those old cognitive distortions about, who you are and the shame, or I'm broken, or nobody will accept me for this past, or what's wrong with me, or I was at fault, and really helping you move towards new healthy truths and productivity. Next, once those are all kind of intact in your daily life and you have some good coping skills ready, then we will go into the last four letters of practice, so the TICE. The T is writing our trauma narrative, so you would write a skeleton story of what happened. And then in vivo exposure, I would go in with you and talk about some sensory information. What did you see, touch, taste, smell, hear? Ask what you were thinking at the time, what you were feeling at the time, maybe do some who, what, when, where, why questions, figure out where those old truths are coming from. And we would do this exposure work and help the story end up having less power over your life. The way I like to think about this is like a scary movie, right? So the first time I see a scary movie, oh my gosh, I'm jumping out, at every time, and it's like really impactful. The second, third, fourth time I've seen the scary movie, it's like, I know what's going to happen. It's still, it's still bad. It's still scary. It's still, oh my goodness. But it doesn't quite have the same power that it did from the novelty the first time. And then after you've watched that movie, 12, 13, 14 times, you could literally have it on as background noise while you're doing homework or paperwork for work. it just wouldn't have the same power it once did. So that's really the research behind exposure work, and it has been proven to show that this works. C is community. So this is the moment where you decide one safe person that you would want to share your trauma narrative, as well as your new truths and your 3 major takeaways, your 3 major learning lessons with, so that you're really transitioning all of this awesome healing work that you have done to someone outside the therapy room. I would vet them and make sure they're really safe and a good person for this. But basically, you would share it and that you could stand on those truths, and that person could help remind you of those truths in your life. And then you have somebody out in the real world who loves you and supports you and is fully there for you, even with your past. E is ensuring future safety and the exit plan. So we could be ending the chapter of trauma and moving into a new chapter outside of therapy. And this is where we would kind of come up with a plan. You know, we can't guarantee what happens in life, but we're going to do everything we can to make sure you feel as confident and as safe as possible out there. So I hope this is helpful. And if you are looking for a trauma therapist, here I am.